Manto Vekabelate. This is everybody's day. This is everybody's day. I've not studied that far to be able to establish it that it was a punishment. I just believe it was a strategy. And as I begin to labor in territorial intercessory waters, I found out that it's a strategy. It's a strategy called besiegement. That sometimes when you want to overcome the enemy and you have chosen not to lose men, what you do is just effectively surround the enemy, walk quietly around the enemy and don't say anything. Animals understand it. Lions want to conquer a few animals. All they just do is take a quiet walk. It's actually a walk of priesthood. It's called the word halak. So God said to Satan in Job chapter 1, Job chapter 2, where have you been? He said, I have been walking to and fro the face of the earth. Now God now drew his attention. He said, hast thou not seen my servant Job? Now, how do we know that it was a strategic walk? It was territorial conquest that Satan was doing. He said, Job, why will he not serve you? Because you have built a hedge around him. What the devil noticed was about a hedge that could not be broken. It was territory. I have attacked every other person successfully, but when I came to Job, I could not break his defenses. And I found out that he's still serving you because his defenses are in place. Let's take away everything that he has and let's see if he will not curse you. So God said, okay, I open his defenses. I'm going to make the cycle smaller. Take away everything he has, but don't touch him. So the devil came again in chapter 2. Where have you been? I've still been walking. His fence is smaller, but if I touch him, you will see he will curse you. So God says, let's go smaller. Keep his spirit alive, but let's touch. You can touch his body. So the sores appeared, the illnesses came, and Job still stayed. Are you with me? Good. So it was that kind of prophetic walk. You will not win much if you drive around all the time. I'm saying that to you, Pastor. You need to walk with your feet. Yes. And map the territory. I do that in places. I just walk around and I can tell them there's an altar there. There's a shrine there. The shrine is not visible to the eyes. But as I pray high in the spirit, you get to regions where there's resistance in prayer. It means that there is a structure in darkness that administers something. It is for those areas that you go back home. You now fulfill a quorum because you can't attack it as one. Wherever 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, that's the minimum number to form a quorum. You now map that area, and you watch war films before, like on a radar system. You put your coordinates in place, and then you mark that place and pray and pray and pray and pray. Then you have someone who goes by the way of the dove in the days of the flood, who goes to that area, and then he goes to check. Is it easier to pray there? It's still hard. He comes back. So we don't know that you are praying. The enemy just discovers that they are losing altar after altar. Because these men who walk around in the sun at midday are actually not just walking around, they are mapping. The same way it happens in light, it happens in darkness. They know where the fire is coming from. Because they also walk around, they cast their things around, and then they want to know where is the resistance coming from. About 4 years ago, the Lord woke me up at 3 a.m. and told me to take a walk through our town. And I said 3 a.m. But I found out in my walk with the Lord that if God says leave your chair and go outside, He lives here. So if you remain here, you are no longer safe. So I rose up in the night and went outside. And I began to walk the main road. And afar off, I saw a man with a white wrapper tied around him. A few cowries here and there. He was chanting. He was not walking straight. He was walking in cycles. Walking the main road that went through the town at 3 a.m. When he got close to me, I had to pitch in tongues too. Because because I was afraid. And the intercessor must know that fear is not sin. Fear is not the opposite of faith. Doubt is the opposite of faith. The psalmist said, when I am afraid, I will call upon your name. It means that the event of fear is actually a window in the spirit. It is an advertisement that your self-confidence has come to an end of itself. And so you begin to cry. It's not wrong to be afraid. If somebody threatens you with death and you go home, be afraid. But let it make you cry. So I beat my tongues, and as it continued to speak, I also continued to speak. I didn't even know that he was woman, but I marked his face. 3 days later, I went to buy something in town. And the man greeted me in Yoruba. How are you, sir? Hey, this same man. I responded, and then he left. The people knew that it was an occultic man, so they asked me, Pastor, you know this man? I said, we are blocked in the night. I don't know how many days he works like that. Some of them do that every night while we are asleep. We wake up in the morning, we gather, we do something that we call prayer meeting. But when the quantity of their labors are weighed against us, we are always found wanting. Walk around Jericho was the instruction, and say no word. And on the 7th day you will come and walk around 7 times. And on the 7th time you will shout. The walls will crash. Before the task was completed, Joshua had an encounter. I need to digress a little and tell us that one of the ways by which God furnishes our territorial engagement for dominion is by the economy of encounters. A man who engages against the territory should also pray that he can see, and pray that God can bring him into experiences, because that's the only way that you can judge your progress. There are things that you may still be praying for that God has answered, so that you can advance to other things. Prayer does not always bring answers, because what we call feedback is not always answer to your prayer. God, pull down the shrine in that area. The pulling down may not be your first answer. It may just be a communication. So that in the day that Daniel was praying for the deliverance of his people, the Bible says that the man Gabriel came. He came as a man, showed up and said to him in Daniel chapter 9 about verse 22, he says, "Oh Daniel, I did not come to answer your prayer. I have come to give you skill and understanding, because it's the first day that you prayed, God heard." I am saying that there are intercessors who are still praying, and God is going back to check, have I not answered this prayer? Because there are answers that have left heaven, that are hanging in the atmosphere, that cannot touch the earth. In the day that you require those answers to become expressions in the earth, you will not need God to do anything. What you will need is to synchronize with those that run the heavens. There's an angelic company that is waiting to partner with our territorial engagement. Because just as there is a prince in darkness assigned to this city, there is also a prince in the light attached to this city. And in the day of battle, you will need to know how to connect with that spirit prince. Because what he does in that dimension actually is what affects the battle in this realm. So when people go to church and all we teach them is how to be rich and how to do business, and church is beginning to look like Onitsha Business School. Do you have a school like that here? When it's beginning to look like Onitsha Business School, what it means is that there will be entities of the earth. They will not have mastered how to relate with spirits. And the dignitaries that we call territorial beings or territorial angels in God are very high-ranking dignitaries. They have courtesies by which you relate with them. If you relate with them wrongly, you may think that you're on the side of God. You may be the one that will be harmed. So men must labor into acquiring spiritual education, that we can be taught accurately how by the Spirit We should relate with the angelic company. I am being careful because I know that Papa will call me if I oversay what I'm going to say. We are guided people.